Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to a different game for this channel. This is Subcommand. Subcommand is a game that I grew up with, and this is one of those games that taught me, well, pretty much everything that I know about submarines. It's a game that was released, and brace yourselves, in 2001. This game is 16 years old at date, and back in the day it was so realistic and so advanced that, from what I heard, my own Navy used it as at least part of their training. That is how effective this thing can be. Now, back in 2001, mind you, we didn't even have that many games yet, let alone at this level. The game was released by Sonalists, and they later released the game Dangerous Waters, which allowed you to also control surface ships and P-3 Orion patrol aircraft. This time around, in Subcommand though, you get the opportunity to command various different submarines. And we're going to go through the campaign. It is an outdated game, its graphics are outdated, but the submarine conflict that's portrayed is still accurate. So that is, it's saving grace in a period where we are all very used to high-end graphics. So try not to look too much into the graphics. Stick with what you can hear, stick with what you can see tactically, and stick with the submarine conflict as we're about to portray it. Right, we're going to go into the campaign. Campaign allows you to pick you can only pick 3 submarines. It allows you to pick one of 3 submarines, the Aquila class, the Seawolf class, and the SSN-688I, also known as the Improved Los Angeles class. I'm going to pick Seawolf class because these guys at the time were the most advanced submarines out there. I can then control which sub I want. Well, there's only one, because I believe that at that point the Seawolf was the only one in existence. And there are, or were, 2 other Seawolf classes, or 2 other boats of the Seawolf class. The SSN-22 Connecticut and the SSN-23 Jimmy Carter. But we're going to go with SSN-21 Seawolf. We're going to start out in Halifax, and our mission is to participate in simulated ASUW torpedo attacks against surface groups. Now, ASUW stands for Anti-Surface Warfare. ASW stands for Anti-Submarine Warfare. We are here to conduct periscope depth torpedo attacks against the SAG, also known as a Surface Action Group.
You have done excellent work in your POMCERT workup. The Halifax police report that your Liberty crews also set some new records. On your transit home for a short final Liberty, you must provide ASW services by acting as a target for a surface action group in the operating areas. Of course, you are to conduct simulated torpedo attacks, so you should maintain the upper hand. Give them a chance. They're only skimmers. You are ordered to conduct exercises with a SAG consisting of the Underwood and the Arleigh Burke. Conduct simulated attacks from periscope depth. Be careful not to actually fire a weapon. Don't let the range get less than 4,000 yards, because in a real attack you might be detected. The SAG is located northwest of your position and is proceeding to the east-southeast. Proceed northeast to intercept their track. A more direct approach risks running aground. Continue simulated attacks until otherwise directed. There are reports of an Aquila in the area. Be alert for intruders and do not allow yourself to be detected. ComSublant will send a message for completion of the exercise. You should continue the practice torpedo attacks until receipt of this message. This ASUW practice might be valuable during your deployment.
Now, some terms that you might not be familiar with. They already explained SAG, Surface Action Group. The other one, ComSublant, is commander for the submarine forces in the Atlantic. ComSublant is one of the most important elements in this game, as it's going to consistently give you orders. Now, operations require me not to actually attack any units. It's a simulated attack, and that is all. I need to approach these units within 4 nautical miles, but not closer than 2 nautical miles. And I need to be at periscope depth or even shallower. Thank you very much. I'll stay at periscope depth, where these guys might, in fact, detect me. As for weaponry, especially when you compare this to Cold Waters, it is far more intricate. You have a lot more options. And in the case of the Seawolf, I have 8 forward-firing torpedo tubes instead of just 4 that you do have on the Los Angeles. I have loaded a Mark 48, a UUV. Now this is an underwater unmanned vehicle, and it is what Cold Water simulates by the MOS, which is the submarine simulator. It's a decoy. We got the SLMM, Submarine Launched Mobile Mine. This is basically a torpedo that's going to swim out of the sub, move to a specific position, and then hold and pretend to be a mine. Another Mark 48, a Tomahawk land attack missile, a Tomahawk anti-ship missile, another Mark 48, and we have 1 empty tube, which I'm going to be loading with another Mark 48. I'm going to change this setup a bit. I want tubes 1 through 4 loaded with Mark 48s. I want to have 2 harpoons in tubes 5 and 6. I'm not expecting land attack operations. Let's go with 1 Tomahawk anti-ship missile and 1 UUV. Then, in stores, I can dictate what I want to have aboard my ship. I'm not going to go with any of these submarine-launched mobile mines. They just don't really do anything for me. We have 22 stowed Mark 48s, we have 13 stowed Tomahawk and ship missiles, 10 land attack missiles, 1 harpoon in reserve. We got 1 UUV in reserve, and that should do it. But we still have room for 5 more weapons. I'm a big fan of the Mark 48. Let's go with a couple more harpoons so that we can engage light craft. And then we have 9 active measures in the countermeasures bay. We have 9 passive measures in the countermeasures bay, and then we have a couple of them in reserve. So let's get to work. Alright, here we are. As you can see, the interface, despite this being at the highest resolution, is quite outdated. And if you're here for the graphics, you have come to the wrong place, because this is not a game where it's all about graphics.
I have a new contact. Bearing 352. Designated Sierra.
Immediately
1.
do something about the sound. Let's tune down the music a bit. Voice responses are good. 3D sound a little bit less. Sound effects a little bit less. Alright, here we are. Welcome to Subcommand, where you have a lot more command screens than you do on Cold Waters. F1 gives you the navigation or ship control. What you can see here are all sorts of stats and indicators about the submarine. We are currently on a heading of 089er.
I have a new contact. Bearing 338. Designated Sierra 2.
We have a speed of 5 knots. Our air reserves are at 80%. Depth currently 120 meters. Sounding 149, which means that I have 149 feet below the keel. We are currently on a course of 089, and this one is used to change course. Stern bow planes, rudder, and bow planes. So these things are not to be set by me. They're automatically used to alternate or change the depth of the submarine. Then we have emergency blow. This one is there to immediately blow all the ballast and get to the surface as quickly as possible. We can ventilate the ship, but only once we're on the surface. This can be done in case there are toxic fumes aboard the submarine. And no, we're not talking about some sailor farting, but we're talking about, for example, battery issues or some sort of contaminant leaking throughout the ship, and we need to ventilate the air. We can rig in the bow planes. This is required for breaking through ice. You can open the main ballast tank vents to allow more air to come in. And we can charge air, but only once we're on the surface. We have a starboard and a port towed array. The starboard towed array is currently deployed. I can stream it, but it's already fully deployed. I can withdraw it or retrieve it, and I can just stop it halfway. Ordered heading 089, ordered speed is 4 knots, and ordered depth is 120. And finally we have the speed indicator here. This is ahead flank, this is all back emergency. Next screen. Welcome to one of the most intricate screens in the submarine simulator. This is the sonar display. Now you remember that little sonar thing that we had down there in Cold Waters? This is that, but the far more realistic version. What you can see here is what I am currently seeing with my bow-mounted sonar array. Passive sonar, mind you. So I'm not actually able to see anything behind the ship, and that's why we have that blacked out version there. Now I have two indicators. This is the short time, and this is the medium to long time, so you can see a pattern emergent over a longer period of time. That's the long broadband array. We also have a narrow band array, which is going to give me slightly more indication or more information about ships. We have the next one. This is the sonar demon. The demon waterfall, I believe, can be used for, let's see, this is the SSP. This is there to go for under ice operations and try not to hit anything. We don't actively, or we don't have it online, I believe. Unless I'm completely mistaken. No, sorry, this is to indicate the turns per knot, so how fast is the ship actually moving. Then we have active sonar. This is a display I will pretty much never be using. And then we have the passive or the active intercept display. You hear those constant pings? Those are the surface ships pinging away, trying to detect my position. I am going to wait for the next ping and then mark it so we know where the guy is. There he is. Mark. And finally we have the SSP display, which is going to indicate exactly where these layers are. If there are any layers that I can withdraw behind, or underneath really. Currently there are no layers, nothing. F3 is going to give you the radar. Again, a system that I will probably never be using because radar is an active sensor and as such gives away my position when I use it. F4 gives you the radio and the ESM tab, or the ESM system. Now, radio is not even currently in cold water, so I'm not sure if they're going to add it, but I don't think so. I have a radio antenna, which is only going to be useful for periscope depth, but if I am below periscope depth and I want to get radio messages anyway, I can deploy the floating wire. This is going to stream a wire behind the ship, and with that it's going to continuously get close to the surface and then pick up radio traffic. ESM is for intercepting radar. F5 gives you the TMA, or target motion analysis. You could do a couple of hours of instruction on this one, and to be fair, I am not an expert at TMA. I know the theory or the principle behind it, but exactly how this works, not really. So this is something that I will happily leave the auto crew on duty at. F6 gives you the targeting display, and over here we can see where our own ship is. This is the Seawolf. We have a couple of targets here. We have Sierra 2 and Sierra 1. You can see the actual information from the ships already there. Now here I also have all my weapons. These are tubes 1 through 8. Then you have the weapon launch indicator. Again, far more intricate than what you do have on cold waters. Because normally in cold waters you just say, I want to fire a torpedo at this ship, good luck. Subcommand doesn't allow you to do that. Subcommand requires you to set all sorts of weapon settings. First you have to flood the tube, then you have to muzzle the door, so you open the torpedo door, but I cannot do this yet because the tube's not flooded. Then the weapon power gets applied, this is automatic. The interlocks are closed, the system is declared ready once I have set up all of this stuff and I can launch the weapon. And this is basically the same setting for all the weapons. Some of them just have slightly different indicators. Now for example for the Mark 48s, I can indicate what the ceiling is. So what is the minimum depth that this weapon is allowed to go at. So this thing is set up to go at a minimum depth. It cannot go any higher than 10 feet. Floor 1000 feet. Depth is its actual standard depth, which is currently 200. So it's going to maneuver to a depth of 200 feet, and once it finds something it's going to maneuver, for example, to 10 feet if it's looking for a surface ship. I can tell it what speed to go at and the RTE, or run to enable. This is going to allow me to say, okay, I want this torpedo to only start its active track once it's, let's say, 5,000 or 10,000 yards away from my ship. We have countermeasures. We have external countermeasures and a couple of internal countermeasures, and again I can launch these as I see fit. And then we have the inventory. F7 gives you the map view, and F8 gives you the periscope. F9 puts you into the options. So these are all the screens that we have, and there is a lot of information here. And these missions can take a long time, far longer than the missions in Cold Waters. Now what we have here is an Arleigh class destroyer and a Perry class. Let's see if we can find these guys on the sonar, because so far we're picking them up on active. Their active, that is, but not our active. See, current course 089, so we're heading east. Yeah, we're heading east. I want to start heading northeast to try and intercept these guys ASAP.
Come left to course 030. Hell my.
I'm gonna make my depth 240 feet, and once there, I want to start increasing speed.
240 feet. Dive by.
Now what you're going to see is that the submarine is pretty much controlled by some part of the AI. So you can see that the bow planes are at a -7, the stern planes are coming up, rudder is 10 degrees port, and we are slowly coming to our indicated course. And yes, the game does show you this more or less, but this screen is always quite finicky. And this is Seawolf, dark as it is. Now, of course, this top side of the submarine is intentionally dark, so that if you're looking at it from a top-down view, you are not that likely to spot it. The other layer, I'm not sure. Maybe hasn't been painted. Maybe it's for when I'm under the ice. I don't know. We'll see. Now, conduct simulated torpedo attacks and at the same time try to find that Akula that is operating somewhere nearby. Now let's see how far these guys are away from me. Where was this again? You used to have an indicator of range. This thing is currently 19,000 yards away. At 4,000 yards he's going to detect me. So we're going to just continue heading in this direction. Bloody hell, these sonar pings are starting to get really annoying. I think that's sound effects. Still too loud, isn't it? 3D sound. Switch that to 2. Let's see how that works. Trying to find the right sound settings for YouTube is always a bit finicky. Now I need to approach to 4,000 meter or 4,000 yards. So that's about. I need to be within 4 nautical miles.
I have a new contact. Bearing 062.
Like that.
Designated Sierra 3.
We have a new sonar contact. Let's see what that is. Look at that. There he is. I'm gonna take the autocrew off duty. I cannot actually see him on the short time display, but on the longer display, the second one, I can see this target. And with the narrow band, we can start to identify what sort of target this might be. As you can see, we have the indicator. This is the narrow band current. This is a sort of history of it. And then we have these indicators below to try and find out exactly what sort of contact this might be. So we're going to see the... or try and find out exactly what we're looking at. You can see that this thing is going to change ever so slightly. So far I'm only getting a spike at about 1,000, maybe 800-ish. It's still going back and forth. Now let's see if the towed array can do anything for me here. Unfortunately not too much, because the towed array, unlike the sphere array, which is on the bow of the ship, the towed array is towed behind the ship, and as such is blind to where I am going, because it's behind the ship and the ship's making all the noise. Now, hull-mounted sonar, nor sphere, or correction, nor towed can find it, unfortunately.
Left full rudder. Helm aye.
What the hell? I didn't order right full rudder. Alright, let's see how close we need to be. I'm going to continue on a course due north. See if we can find it.
Come left to course 000. Helm aye.
And that Sierra 3 contact seems to be moving rather fast. I doubt very much that that's a submarine. Submarine wouldn't really do something like that. So let's try to find this guy. Alright. We are starting to get close enough. I'm going to speed up to 10 knots.
Make turns for 10 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Let's put sonar crew on duty here.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing 06104. Designated Sierra 4.
Looks like we got more information about this thing now. We're pretty certain it's an oiler. It's good to know. Alright, time to slow down. 5 knots and switch to periscope depth.
Make turns for 5 knots. Maneuvering
Navigate,
aye.
set depth,
Make my
periscope
depth 070 feet. Dive aye.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing 297. Designated Sierra 5.
Alright, we're currently coming up to periscope depth, 25 feet away from it. The time is 21:30 or near enough, and it should be really, really dark out here. So let's see if we can get to the surface and still spot these guys using the periscope. Again, periscope, as far as I know, really not used that much when commanding a submarine. Alright, add a range
Approach
circle.
goal complete. Continue with your mission.
Alright, we have completed one approach. And where's the other one? We've completed the approach of the FFG, and now we need to approach the DDG-51. So that's the Arleigh Burke. For that, I'm gonna set a course of, let's make it 340. Go pretty much
Come
directly
left
towards
to
the
course 340. Helm aye.
I'm gonna raise the scope. Low level TV, or low light TV. And we're looking for them at a bearing of, where's the contact? Just about due north. Immediately the signal strength is going up, which means there's a radar active. Not really seeing anything here. Let's make the depth 8 feet.
Make my depth 068
Because the periscope is
Dive aye.
just getting out of the water. But ever so slightly. Hang on, there's something there. Yep, there he is. That's the Perry. Where's the other one? Range 10,000 yards, bearing 331. Understood. There he is. Pretty much come directly at us. Now, again, with the periscope, you can do all sorts of interesting stuff. Because this ship is currently very difficult to identify. Let's switch to the other one. There you are. Standard visual, we're going to take a picture of it. And now I can compare what I spotted to what might be in the database. So right now I know that this, for example, is a ship from the United States. And I know exactly what kind of ship it is. This is an Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate. We are looking at it from the starboard side. Zoom is pretty bad. You can see that this pretty much matches what we're spotting. Maybe even slightly less, 32%, something like that. And now I can identify what we're looking at. So this is one way to see exactly what sort of target you are dealing with. Let's lower the periscope, I don't need that thing. What I do want is the radio
Raise
antenna.
the antenna, Chief of the Watch Eye.
I want to find out if there is any messages for me. There in fact is a new message. Intelligence reports verify the operations of an Akula. Attempt to confirm presence of the Akula in the op area. Okay.
Lower the antenna.
Q.
Chief of the Watch Eye.
Now I am getting quite close to this Perry. That's the minimum approach distance. I cannot get any closer to that guy, or I risk being detected. So we're gonna have to change course a little bit more.
Come left to course 320. Hell my.
This is still not enough. Make course 270.
Come left to course
Ooh, this is gonna be tight.
270. Hell my.
Real tight.
Approach goal complete. Continue with your mission.
Alright, so we made the approach against the Arleigh Burke, we made the approach against the Oliver Perry. At this point, I don't need to be at this depth anymore. I don't need to make an approach anymore, so we're going to completely turn around.
Come left to course 180.
And we're going to get some more depth into this thing, because at 100 or at 67 feet or 68 feet,
17
I'm not very confident.
Feet. Dive aye.
So we're going to dive the boat and try to get away from these ships as they're pinging constantly.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing 062. Designated Sierra 7.
Now I need to try and find that submarine. That is going to be quite a challenge. By the way, what we can see here, this is course bearing 061. 061, we should see the Oliver Hazard Perry. So what are we dealing with at this area? 060. Interesting. You can also see some other smaller tracks here. Let's see what the towed array can get me. Now the towed array is a bit of a mess, because I've been making quite a few course corrections. And as such, all of these tracks are going to have to be re-established. And we're going to have to try and find out exactly where these things are coming from. You can actually hear the surface ship here, bearing 060. But due to, and this is something again that I'm not entirely 100% on, so if you are more versed in sonar systems, then please fill in the blanks. What we can hear here is a sort of echo, a mirror image, and you're going to have to try and do target motion analysis to try and find out exactly what you're looking at. We also got a small track here, bearing 336. We have bearing 336 because it is definitely not this Arleigh Burke. So what are we dealing with? Sound to noise ratio is very, very low.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing 023. Designated Sierra 8.
What is Sierra 8 is the question. With a very low sound to noise ratio here.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing.
Okay, he's automatically
353.
mitigated, so
Designated
he's
Sierra.
not actually in
9.
contact.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing. 336. Designated Sierra. 10.
I still don't know exactly what Master 1 is, but it's probably a surface ship. Assumed an oiler. Let's put the autocrew on duty here again. So now we're going to have to try and find an enemy submarine. We have no idea
Con sonar. I have a new contact.
where the guy's
Bearing.
operating.
303. Designated Sierra. 11.
These constant sonar pings are still way too loud. Music's fine. This should be a bit better. Now, so far I haven't been detected, or the game would tell me about it. The game would fail the mission.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing. 300. Designated
Let's
Sierra.
activate history.
12.
Now you can see my course, where I made my course corrections. And if I really wanted to, these ships would be dead. Both the Early Burke and the Perry. There's very little that they could have done. Now I'm expecting a message that's saying that the mission's complete. Let's see, when is Finex? Expect orders by 22:30. So I still have about half hour to find this enemy submarine, which can take far more time than that.
Come left to course 090. Hell my.
Now my theory is that Sierra 8 is something that I want to really get a closer look at. I really want to find out what exactly this guy is. You can see here he's being detected by the towed array. His range is 20 yards and he's operating at 3 knots. Now, few things are as slow as 2 knots or 3 knots. It could be a submerged submarine. Could also be a sailboat, which is lacking any wind. So we're gonna have to try and get a little closer, but this guy is currently at 20,000 yards. So let's see if we can get a little closer and find out what he is. I just don't want to sail right at him, because if I do that, then there's a very good chance that I'm going to blind out part of my sonar array. And I don't want to do that, because right now I have most of what I need. I have the broadband sonar, I have the towed array. All of these things can now indicate what exactly is going on along these areas. This is, by the way, what they call the waterfall display. A submarine where in an action movie you see radar, or a screen that looks like this, where it's immediately going to tell you where a contact is. Yeah, that's just wrong. There's so little truth to that every time a movie featuring submarine action shows that, I pretty much jump out of my chair in frustration. You're slowly closing on the guy. We're still getting him on the towed array. Towed array, by the way, is usually far...
Mission accomplished. Report for debrief.
Alright. It's usually far, far more accurate than the main array. Now, mission may be completed, but we still haven't... Or did we? Did we detect it? We did receive the Finex order. Mission complete. We have not been counter-detected. But I'm not sure if we actually spotted the Akula. So I could end the mission right now. But I want to find if the Sierra 8 contact here to my north is what we're looking for. He's surface ships are constantly wanging away with their sonar. It's getting really annoying. He's still moving really, really slowly. We're looking at a contact at a bearing of, where is he? 3. So that's right about here. Sound to noise ratio is very, very slight.
Con sonar, I have a new contact. Bearing 003, designated Sierra 1.
Whereas on other locations, the sound to noise ratio is, again, very, very slight. So the main array, the spherical array, is not actually detecting it. Passive sonar has a pretty decent track. Sound to noise ratio of 4. Contact designated as Master 4. So this is Master 4. And right now we're getting all sorts of conflicting information. And that's why the contact keeps jumping across the screen there. Now, he does have a small spike on the towed array, but I cannot quite get a good track going here. This is all the information that I'm getting from him. A bit of a spike on 55. So let's see if we can find out what this guy is. If that is an Akula, and there should be far more spikes, there should be more information about him, but then again he has a very, very slight profile. So it might be the Akula. And again, it might not. It might be a Victor 3, a Kilo. According to the database, he thinks that we are dealing with what might be a submarine until we come up against an Shimi or a Grisha 5. Yeah, not really. If there is an Akula operating in the area, I want to try and find more of his information. So I want to find out if there's more that we can get from this guy. Hull array doesn't have anything. Spherical array doesn't have anything. So we're only stuck with Toad here, unfortunately. Wow, he's suddenly speeding up to 20 yards or 20 knots. Never mind. What do we do? What do we do? I could head a bit closer to him and then see if I can find him.
Come left to course 000. Helm on.
This is going to take a while. Again, I want to stick to 5 knots because that is the speed that I am the most quiet at. I don't want to give this guy any more information than he needs to get about me. And as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't need to know anything about me whatsoever. Now at this point, the towed array is blind because he's too far, he's directly in front of me. So what you can see on the towed array is nothing. This, I believe, contact J is what we're looking for. Spherical array doesn't have him yet. Hang on, there's a spike here. Sound to noise ratio just jumped to 5. Let's put sonar on auto crew again, so that I can focus on navigation for now. Depth is going down a bit. I can't imagine why he would want to be at a depth of 17 or at a sea location with a depth of 176 feet max. That means he'd have to be really, really shallow. It's possible, it's just not probable. Unless he's doing a sort of counter bluff. Alright, we're at 16,000 yards. Where is this guy going? Because now he has a speed of 0 knots. That's interesting. Let's make a course 090.
Come right to course 090.
Try to get the towed array back into the play. There's the surface ships. Or actually, that could be my ship. Yeah, sonar array. The towed array, I think, detected my ship. Also known as own ship. Now, 17,000 yards out. If this is the Akula, then this can give us an advantage in the next mission. You can see that the spike is definitely there. Towed array. This is bearing cursor 358, so that's where he's at. We can see a slight, you really have to focus here, a slight second line coming up. Let's see if we can find out a bit more about this guy. That could be the second line that we're looking for. But then again, it could be a fishing boat. I don't know. I could be doing a target motion analysis on a fishing boat and I wouldn't know it until I get real close to him. We're going to do another TMA leg.
Come left to course 000. Helmi.
Try to get this guy. Now, there is a way to cheat in this game if you really want to. Show truth. This is going to give you exactly where the ships are, as opposed to guessing with your own sensors. It's something that I prefer really not to use. Unless you're, for example, educating people on where they might find a contact. Now these surface ships are not moving. That's interesting. I would expect these guys to at least be moving around. But they're not doing anything. Alright, last known information. Again, still 2 knots. Sphere and towed. That's why he's a master. If you have a sonar contact and just a contact with one of the sonar arrays, it's going to label it a Sierra contact. If you have contact, or if you're picking up something on multiple sensors, so for example the towed array and the spherical array, it's classed as a master. Because then you know that there's something there. You no longer just have one indicator, but you have 2. So you can be far more adequate about it. Romeo contacts are radar contacts, and I'm not sure what they class.
You've been counter-detected. Continue with your mission.
Shit. I've been counter-detected. This means that the Akula was able to detect me, as opposed to me detecting the Akula. That really sucks, because that's going to make the next mission more difficult. This game did have a progressional system in it like that, which is interesting for a game for 2001. Now I've detected him. Question is, or he's detected me. Question is, have I detected him yet? And if so, is this the guy that we're looking for? Let's make another course correction. Because again,
come right to
blind.
course 090. Helmi.
Wait for the towed array to come back. Now when I say wait for the towed array to come back, I mean that the towed array is just as well as my ship, making a course correction. So we're going to see the towed array again being drawn around, just like that. think that I might be onto the Akula here. Master 4. And apparently I got too close to him. Alright, let's end this video and see... Okay, we were chasing a fish. The Akula is here. Bloody hell, he's close. And I still haven't detected the guy. Do you notice that? He's right there. What's that in range? At range circle. Ooh, he's 3 miles out. And I still haven't detected him.
Sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing 1. Come left to course 0.
See if we can still pick him up on the sonar.
4.
It's a bit of an exercise. Hold on, what are you? Oh, you should be at 090-ish. What's that? L. Contact Master 3. Master 3 is over there. Totore is still trying to course correct. There we go. What exactly are you?
Goal complete.
There you go.
Continue with your mission.
That's the Akula.
Con sonar. I have a new contact. Bearing 083. Designated Sierra 15.
That's the Akula. Okay, so we've completed the mission. We know where the Akula is. It got real close and has detected me, and that's going to make the next mission more complicated. Anyway, this is it for the video. A introduction to Subcommand. And now I'm going to leave it to you guys. Do you want to see more of this game? Let me know in the comments. Because this game is far less intricate, it's far less beautiful, and it's far more complex than Cold Waters. I'll still be continuing to cover Cold Waters, but this might be an interesting game to add to the channel, and I'd like your feedback for the idea of doing just that. So let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments, and I'll see you soon for more submarine warfare, either through Subcommand or Cold Waters. See you then.